This little book from 1660 was, it's called, in Dutch they pronounce it euthanasia, but in English it's euthanasia. This was the first time that word ever appeared in print. Euthanasia is a Dutch word, but it meant something different back in the 17th century than it means now. In the 17th century, the subtitle of this is euthanasia or well dying. It was hospice of the time period. And this little book was a lay minister's, Reformed Church minister's handbook for comforting the sick and dying. And why it's on exhibit is this painting next to it by Jan Victors. Victors was reportedly a pupil of Rembrandt's, and he painted a lot of religious scenes early in his career, and then he did these sorts of genre scenes. This is called The Blind Fiddler. He gave up painting later in his career to become, in Dutch it's a ziekentrooster, or comforter of the sick, on a ship of the Dutch East India Company, and he died in Java, they think, in about 1675. But he gave up his art career for a more spiritual career in helping assist with people who were ill. And so that's why this little book is here, and the word euthanasia's meaning has changed since the 1660s. This is a Rembrandt etching called Seated Beggar Warming His Hands at a Chafing Dish. That wasn't the title that Rembrandt gave it. In the 19th century, 18th and 19th century, collectors cataloged all of Rembrandt's etchings, and he did a number of them, and they gave them names at that time. But this little etching was done in about 1630 by Rembrandt, and it came to the museum in 2008. A donor out in Colorado knew of the museum, and her husband, who had passed away, always wanted this little piece to come to the museum. And you never know with etchings of Rembrandt if they're authentic or not, because they're still reproduced today. And as paper ages, sometimes it's difficult to tell. But this is an authentic Rembrandt etching, the first in the museum's collection. This cupboard, which is a focal point of the Holland Museum's Dutch galleries, was made about 1630 by some artists that probably came up from Antwerp, or from what is now Belgium, because Antwerp had a lot of difficulty with the 80 Years' War, and so people came north and then could practice their craft. This is called a Beeldenkast, or a statue or sculpture cabinet, because it has something unusual in these sorts of cupboards, and that is it has full carved figures up at the top that represent faith, charity, and hope. This was an extremely expensive piece of furniture when it was new. It was made for the marriage, we think, of a couple from the De Groot and the Van Neck families of the city of Hoorn. Hoorn was a wealthy town because it had a lot of connection with the East India trade.